Do, 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 do. Bum, 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 bum. Let's do it there. Hey, kia ora. Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Surprise in Arizona. Hope you're having a super fantastic, sparkling day. Welcome to Before the Dirt Nap podcast number 1570. Whew, we're getting up there in numbers. Tomorrow Never Lies. You're probably going, Tomorrow Never Lies? Isn't the movie called Tomorrow Never Dies? Yes, you would be correct. But first, before we get into James Bond number 18, it rained today. I woke up at 4:30 and I could hear this noise, and I'm like, what on earth is that noise? And I suddenly went, it's raining. So around 7, sometime after 7 o'clock and before 7:30, I think it was like around 7:20 or something like that this morning, I was standing out on my front porch doing a Facebook Live because I couldn't stand on the back patio to do it, which is covered, because the rain was coming from the wind was coming from the north, and it was blowing the rain almost completely into the back patio there. And if you watch if you watch the live, at the end of it, we walk through the house and I show you what the patio looks like while it was still raining. But it was awesome. There was a lot of rain. And then I did a second live a little bit later, when we were walking through the park, so you could see how the park was designed to catch the water from the storm drains. And then it has drains in the bottom of the grass areas to take the water away. So it holds it first and while it drains away. So it's just not putting so much pressure onto the water pipes and all of that sort of stuff as well. So it was pretty cool. So check those out. They're on my Facebook page that you can go see the lives. I will get them transferred over to YouTube as well, so people will be able to see it there. But that was pretty cool, all the rain we got this morning. Yay. And it was 3 hours of rain. And it got to the point where it eased up, but it didn't stop. And I looked at the phone, and I got an app on there that tells me how long the rain's going to last. And it was going to be like, they changed it from, like, when I did the live, it was like 30 to 45 minutes or something. When I went to check again, they said an hour. And I was like, I'm not making Zeffy cross her legs like that. So we waited for a lull. So it was kind of still raining a little bit, and went out for a rain. And Zeffy was immediately like, I want to get back on the front. I said, nope, we got to go for your walk. I said, look, and before we went outside, this is going to be a very quick, very fast walk today. Get your stuff done. We're going home. I will tell you, she's like peeing all over the place like she normally does. And I said, and she sort of like looks and starts trying to turn around to head back home. I says, nope, as soon as you poop, we can go back home. And so she was like, sit out of spot, does her business. We pick it up, put it in the trash, and we're back home. So I think the total time we were out there was like 8 minutes. She hates getting wet. Hates it. But then I left the front door open for her and put her little mats down there on the front there, so she spent most of the day just laying there looking out the window watching it rain. It was awesome. That's as close to rain as she will get. But anyway, so tonight we're talking about James Bond film number 18, the second Pierce Brosnan one. It is Tomorrow Never Dies. But there was an interesting thing, and I'm actually going to read this out because I thought it was kind of cool, about how it got its title. So Tomorrow Never Dies, the title was inspired by the Beatles song Tomorrow Never Knows. The eventual title came about by accident. One of the potential titles was Tomorrow Never Lies, referring to the Tomorrow newspaper and the plot. And if you don't know what that is, we'll explain that in a minute. And this was faxed to MGM. However, due to a typing error, it became Tomorrow Never Dies, a title MGM found so attractive that they insisted on using it. And the title was the first not to have any relation to Ian Fleming's work or life. So if you remember, all of the movies up until yesterday all had some tie into Ian Fleming's either novel. All of them were novels, except for Yesterday, or for GoldenEye. So the first 16 James Bond movies are all based on books written by Ian Fleming. GoldenEye was the first movie not to be based on any of his books, but the title was the name of his estate in Jamaica. Tomorrow Never Dies is the first title that has absolutely nothing to do with any of Ian Fleming's books or his life. So that gives you that. Now, if you're wanting to know an interesting thing about this movie too, because when I was looking back over some of the facts and things and notes I've taken in the past and that sort of stuff, this is a new one I found out today, is that it is the first Pierce Brosnan Bond film. So he does 4. He does 4 James Bond movie, it is the only one out of those 4 that did not open in the number 1 slot. It did not open at number 1 in the box office. And the reason it did not open number 1 in that Tomorrow Never Dies, out of the 4 movies that Pierce Brosnan did as James Bond, the reason that this one did not get the number 1 slot in the box office on the date of release was because it was released the same day as Titanic. So there you go. You never know. But basically what this movie is about a guy called Elliot Carver, who is a media mogul. He wants to take over the world. He always wants to be on the edge of news. So rather than finding out about the news, he wants to create it. And he ends up obtaining this encoder. I can't remember if it's a Russian encoder or I don't remember which nationality the encoder comes from. But basically this encoder sends out fake GPS coordinates. So like in one of the cases they show, it's a British naval ship and it gets blown up because it's in Chinese waters. But on the ship, it shows it's not in Chinese waters. And so they got these they get given fake coordinates, get told that they're in different places different places to where they think they are when they're not supposed to be. But another one of his goals is he actually wants to start World War III so that he then has the monopoly on everything. He wants the monopoly on one of these wacko guys that gets all this idea that they want to control everything, including the news. And it turns out that Carver's trophy wife, which is played by Terry Hatcher, who, when at the time of filming the movie, was 3 months pregnant when she started filming the movie, was actually, so Terry Hatcher plays Paris, who is Carver's trophy wife, and it turns out that she is an ex-girlfriend of James Bond. One of the cool scenes in this is Bond gets a new car. This car is a BMW 750 IL, and it is remote control. And there is a whole chase scene that they do with James Bond basically laying on the back seat with his phone, driving around this parking lot, and this whole chase thing goes on with this thing. This is also the first Bond movie following the death of Albert Broccoli, who died the year before in 1996, which means this one came out in 97. And so this film was dedicated to his memory. What else can we tell you? Oh yeah, Bond and Wei Lin, who is his equivalent in the Chinese, I think it's Chinese service, whatever their secret service thingy is, they actually get taken hostage and get taken to the CMGN Tower in Saigon. And there's and they wanted to do their own stunts, but they got told no, because one of them is they take there's a big banner on the outside of the building and they use that banner for their escape. And it's a pretty cool stunt. They then get on this BMW motorcycle, and of course they're handcuffed together, which makes it very interesting trying to control the motorcycle while you're handcuffed to somebody else who's trying to sit behind you on the back of the bike. And they have this massive chase and there's helicopters involved and all of this sort of stuff. It's really, really cool. Also, in the very first movie in Dr. No, James Bond actually favored for his handgun, favored the Beretta. And I can't remember which model Beretta it is. But right at the very beginning, there is a scene where they bring in the quartermaster, which is not Q at this time. Q comes in the next movie, and issue him with his new gun, which is the Walther PPK. And he keeps trying to sneak out with the Beretta, but the Beretta was known as the ladies' gun, and they wanted to give him the Walther, which was more the manly gun. So in this movie, he doesn't actually have the Walther PPK. He gets upgraded to the Walther P99. And so the Walther PPK has been used in every James Bond movie up until including GoldenEye, except Moonraker, because in Moonraker you never see him with a gun in his hand in that movie, because it all takes place in space. And then the Walther P99, which he starts with in Tomorrow Never Dies, goes all the way through until Quantum of Solace, where Bond reverts to the Walther PPK. So that's just a little bit of interesting history there on that one. But I like this movie. It's a lot of fun. It's all very different thinking on people, and just shows you how some people get a little power hungry on things. And so Tomorrow Never Lies was meant to be the name of the movie, and it ended up being Tomorrow Never Dies due to a typo. So that's why tonight's talk is called Tomorrow Never Lies. But it's all about some guy just wanting to create, rather than finding out about the news and being the first to break it, he's going to be the first to break it because he helped create it. And he already has the headlines written and everything. Everything's all written. He just needs the photographs to go in there, and boom, it's done. But one of the reasons that they went to a motorbike for the big chase scene in this movie is because they had used the tank in GoldenEye, and they thought, we can't go for, instead of going bigger, because the tank was pretty big and made a pretty impressive chase through St. Petersburg. So rather than going big, they decided to go small, and so went to a motorcycle, which is kind of cool. And it's just it's a good movie. I like this one. And I especially love when Q's my favorite piece in this is, or the funniest one, is when Q is trying to show James Bond how to use the remote, to use the controls to control the vehicle. And so James Bond he's having trouble with it starting and stopping, doing the start-stop thing. And so James Bond takes over, and with his gentle touch, he gets his car running smoothly. And I can't remember the comment that Q makes, but it's quite funny. Anyway, that's it from me for tonight. I'm going to go off and watch Tomorrow Never Dies. Came out in 1997, and it's a minute under 2 hours. It's an hour and 59, so I'm going to get an early night tonight. Maybe I'll get some more rain. That would be awesome. Anyway, go out, have a super fantastic sparkling evening, and we will catch you guys back here tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Hey, konera.